All right, it is May 21st, 2024. Welcome to this installment of the Cascade Locks, Port of Cascade Locks, Port Commission meeting. We will start with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please.
Ryan,
I'm here.
Vice President Clute, here. Commissioner Nats,
Here.
Commissioner Peterson,
Here.
Commissioner Sweet, here.
All right, modifications, additions, and changes to the agenda. Fair enough. Perfect. Public comments. Do we have anybody wishes to comment? All righty, then we'll move on. Consent agenda. Approval of minutes for commission meeting from May 7th, 2024, and budget meeting on May 14th, 2024. Ratification and bills in the amount of $1,518,646.84. Approval of payroll for March 20th in the amount of $36,469.77. For April 4th in the amount of $38,488.09, and for April 19th in the amount of $36,637.46. For May 3rd in the amount of $36,273.40, and for May 17th in the amount of $37,379.54. Would somebody like to approve the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as stated.
I'll second that motion.
A motion second to approve the consent agenda as stated. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Special presentation reports and by outside resources, staff, and government officials. 2023 grant recipient reports.
President Ryan, tonight we have two of the grant recipients from earlier this fiscal year. They're here to present a report on their projects and also to indicate their interest in applying for further grant funding next year. We have, should we go, do you have you guys drawing straws and who goes first? How about the Hood River Energy Council first?
Yeah.
All right, good evening. Thank you for having us. My name is Lindsay McClure. I'm a project manager at the Mid-Columbia Economic Development District, and I staff the Hood River County Energy Council. With me is Eric Strid, who's co-chair of the Energy Council and leads the Energy Council's Transportation and Land Use Subcommittee. All right, so we are going to keep it brief. We're going to keep this in the 5 to 10 minute window. We're here to give a brief overview of our work, to report on the work that we were able to accomplish with the grant that was given to us from the port for the current fiscal year, $5,000 grant, which we're very grateful for, and to let you know what we have on the horizon. So I'll give a very quick background about the Energy Council and the energy plan. Hood River County's energy plan is a strategic plan to help the county maximize economic benefits and improve community resilience by reducing emissions from the burning of fossil fuels. In 2016, the 5 local governments in the county came together to pursue opportunities and tackle challenges in a coordinated way. And the plan was adopted by resolution in 2018 by 4 local governing bodies. The plan is centered on 3 goals: reducing fossil fuel emissions, improving resiliency and energy independence, and keeping energy spending local. The goals are really intended to help people. We envision a future with good local jobs, clean power, safe, comfortable, and healthy buildings in a community that's prepared for long duration power outages and other impacts from natural disasters. So to make this all happen, we have an energy council. The energy council is a community advisory body supporting the implementation of the energy plan. The energy council is comprised of 7 at-large members, 1 community representative, and then 4 governing body representatives. Pam is our governing body representative for the Port of Cascade blocks, and I just want to call out the really important role that these representatives play on the Energy Council. They keep us apprised of the work that you're doing so that we can focus our work on the priorities that are most important to you. And they track the work of the Energy Council to look for opportunities for collaboration and coordination. So I just really want to thank Pam for her engagement and the time that she's put into the Energy Council this past year. It's been really great to have you.
Thank you.
So now to talk about funding, as I mentioned, the port provided a $5,000 grant to the Energy Council for the capacity for this year. The backbone of our funding comes from the governing bodies who have provided yearly financial contributions. And this local money is really important because it allows us to keep our work focused on the priorities that are most important for our communities. And it also helps us leverage outside funding. So we are in an ongoing process of looking for additional funding to support the money that we have from the governing bodies. In the past, we've been able to secure grants from Meyer Memorial Trust, Energy Trust of Oregon, Ford Foundation, and others. In addition to the capacity funding, which primarily supports my role, we are also in the process of applying for a lot of project funding. Now is a good time to be applying for energy grants because there are a lot of them available. Over 2022 and 2023, we were able to secure over $2 million in project funding for projects within Hood River County. We've submitted applications totaling over $2 million for local projects this year that we haven't heard back yet. And if I was talking to you 2 weeks from now, that number would be $3 million because there's more in the works. So now's a great time in the energy world.
I have a question for you. As far as some of those funds are concerned, it sounds like you're filling out the grants for these. How do agencies like us, governments like us, special districts like us, work with you to either receive some of those or have those done on our behalf? How does that kind of work? And the reason I'm asking is because in January, we obviously had the big blizzard and ice storm. We went a different route where we just said, hey, we need a backup power source for us. And we were able to secure that with the county. I know that you all are working with Mount Hood for the solar project that's up there. How could we get some of that action?
Yeah, good question. So I guess a couple different ways. When we see opportunities that we think would be a good fit for the governing bodies, I'll bring those to you and ask if you're interested. And if you see something that we're not seeing, you can always come to us. One project we've been working on for a long time, and I hesitate to say this, but it feels like we're really taking off, but it's solar and storage for this building. And we have secured money from Oregon Department of Energy for the solar panels and backup storage battery. And a generator to put solar panels on the roof. We need to replace the roof and to turn this building into a microgrid. There's a bunch of electrical work that needs to be done. So FEMA allegedly will fund this work. We're in the sub-applicant round of a grant with them. And I think we're getting really close to the award. So if that money comes through, then that kind of rounds out the funding that we need to do solar batteries and a generator, a microgrid, back up this building.
So that would be working with the city, specifically for City Hall here. What about as the port? What if we identify places that would also benefit from something like solar?
Yeah, we would be really enthusiastic to support you with pursuing that. We could look at opportunities for feasibility assessments as a step one. And if you're really serious, I wanna say this acronym CREP, that's ODO's Community Renewable Energy Grant Program. It's a really fantastic program that ODO has right now. It provides up to 100% grant funding for solar and battery or other energy resilience projects. And the funding is for communities outside the Portland metro area. So it's made it a lot easier to access for communities like ours who don't necessarily have the resources to compete against some of the bigger municipalities. So there's probably one more round of that funding that'll open late 2024. So if there's projects that are more in the concept or ready to go phase, we should start talking about those now and put the pieces together, because that's been a really great program.
Cool, great. I just had a question about the actual solar battery storage system. Is that something from Tesla or is that a different vendor?
So we don't have the technology picked out yet, but likely because of the size of the building, my understanding is the Tesla Powerwall is more on the residential side of things. And then this building is kind of in between the small residential and the really big commercial, so it's like a mid-market battery size.
So that would be the solar panels. What about, I mean, we have the electric car plug-in over here by the graveyard or the cemetery. I know that we talked about having a parking lot over there. Would you all be able to help us secure any sort of, is there any grants out there for us to be able to help secure that in other parking lots?
Yes, there are. There's a grant from ODOT, that's the Community Charging Rebate Program. And those are rebates for level 2 chargers, and they cover up to 75% of the charger installation costs. And there are other grants as well through ODOT. And probably not your utility.
When we built the campground or the parking lot up on Moody Road for the PCT trail, we did put conduit in. So if we ever did decide to put in charging stations, yeah, infrastructure there, so.
Yeah, I knew we talked about it. I just forgot where we were exactly at with that. But if we can find funding for it. And then I guess from a charging standpoint, like this is all the stuff we talk about later, but from a charging standpoint, revenue, that could be a revenue stream.
Yeah, so I have a question to this council. Would it be beneficial, I haven't been reporting from HREC. Would it be beneficial for me to have like a small little snippet to the agenda, like after an HREC meeting?
I would think so. I mean,
There's one next month, it's quarterly, so I the one out for next month, the meeting after that, I'll put Jeremiah, put it on the agenda for just a short.
My goal is to get you all so busy that when you do your little reports at the end, each one of you gets a report back from another board that you sit on. So yes, we absolutely love that. Commissioner comments,
a great spot for it.
Commissioner comments, okay, good.
You said the plan was last updated in 2018. Do you know when your guys' next update to that plan is, or has it always sort of been?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm gonna go to the next slide.
Okay.
So we have our energy plan is written to be an evergreen plan that's not updated regularly. And then we have a 2022 to 2025 work plan that breaks down the goals in the energy plan into specific projects that we think are the low cost, high reward ways to advance the goals. So this energy plan or this work plan, we're kind of getting to the end of. So right now we're putting the wheels in motion to write a new work plan. And that'll be a great time to engage with you guys on some more long-term thinking and strategic planning to look at those projects in this community that could be a good fit.
Awesome.
Yeah. And the last thing we want to share with you are some work plan highlights. Our work plan includes 32 projects. So we're gonna share with you one project from each of our subcommittees. And with the caveat that this is just kind of, skimming the surface of what we're working on. And Eric, who leads the transportation and land use subcommittee is gonna talk about the work of that subcommittee.
Yeah, the big thing happening with energy and transportation is electrification of vehicles. As you're probably aware, the average EV will save the owner, residential owner about more than $1,000 a year because running from local electric energy is more like $1 per gallon at the pump. So the fuel savings is tremendous, far less maintenance because the motor is one moving part. So how do we plan for all the charging going on? The majority of it is right in the garage with a 240 volt circuit. That, as you mentioned, the best thing to do if you're building out any new parking is provide the conduits to have options in the future. Specifically, that's one of the objectives of the study we did, brought as many stakeholders from the county as possible, including utilities, different vendors, planning people, to talk about, well, hey, this county isn't that big, we can't just pretty well outline exactly where we want the main chargers. Specific to Cascade Locks, I think it's right for about to facilitate about a dozen fast chargers along the street here, within walking distance of coffee shops and Thunder Island, so forth. There's a lot of traffic that gets off of the 84 exits here. It's the only fast charging between Troutdale and Hood River, and there are times when the interstate gets shut down. Where are we going to go? So that's a nutshell for Cascade Locks. The one area where it's still TBD is how are we going to get enough chargers for multi-unit dwellings where you might have an apartment house with 20 units. Well, where else are we going to get us charged? But we're figuring it out with them. And in summer, but I'm very bullish on EVs and helping people do that.
Which EV do you drive?
Well, I currently have 2 Teslas.
Okay.
One's 10 years old, one's 7 years old. We put about 250,000 miles on our EVs, so I'm used to what charger places are good or not.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. Our building subcommittee right now is really focused on outreach. There's a lot going on with rebates and incentives, and it's all a little bit confusing to wade through. So our goal is to simplify that and get information into our community that's very specific to people who live here. And as I mentioned before, the community scale solutions subcommittee has been very focused on these energy resilience projects at critical facilities. And one thing that I think is really exciting about these energy resilience projects is that we have a project at the YES Middle School in Odell. We have Mountain Town Hall. We're working on a project for this building. And I think there's going to be a lot of knowledge sharing and cross-pollination because this is a very new technology. So to be able to collaborate and learn from the projects that we have going on in this community, I think it's going to be a really exciting opportunity. So that wraps it up. That's what we've been working on. We're really appreciative for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Janice Green is here from the museum. And hello.
I guess I was.
Get the low chair.
Thanks, guys.
You guys had that chair at the last meeting and then slowly sank down and I couldn't get it to come back up.
Well, I will just deal with that.
Yes.
Great, well, good evening, everybody. I'm here from the Cascade Box Historical Museum to report back on the grant that we received. The port awarded us $20,000 in November for general operating support, specifically to support staffing at the museum. And the way that I was asked to report back about this was to describe what the role is that was supported by this money, and writing my job down on a piece of paper is always interesting. It doesn't fit on a page, because it includes everything from doing some pretty high level strategy work, to doing strategic planning, to cleaning the toilet, and talking people through how to use their smartphones to pay for parking in the Marine Park. So it's such a range, there's no two days are the same. And I tried to kind of categorize it into capacities that I think support the port's objectives. So one of the things that I do is educate people. As I mentioned, I teach a lot of old people how to use their phones. But I also talk to the museum board members to make sure that they understand nonprofit IRS regulations, and I do that work with other community organizations as well to make sure that everyone is running their 501c3s, sharing that expertise and doing their accounting correctly. We've gotten the city tourism committee up to speed on how Robert's Rules of Order works and how transient lodging tax works, and how their budget has previously worked and how it can work moving forward. We have reformatted that for them so that they actually know what money they have and what they're spending it on. We've also trained up new employee on museum policies and procedures and safety and responsibilities. And we've taught 6-year-olds how navigation locks work by using metaphors about bathtub toys. So you talk to everybody when you're working at the museum. As far as other capacities, I do a lot of writing. One of my favorite stories from the pandemic was when my daughter was doing at-home school, sitting next to me and was complaining about having to write a persuasive essay. She was like, I'm never gonna have to do this. And I was literally writing a grant while she was complaining about that. And I was like, I have bad news for you. This is something that real people get paid money to do. Right? I think the best example of how that supports of success in this arena would be the fact that we've managed to get 3 exhibits funded during the process of this, or the tenure of this grant process. So we got the school exhibit fully funded by private donors. So that is going to be a permanent exhibit about Cascade Box schools. We've also received funding to retrofit the front office space and the visitor center. And that's going to include 2 new exhibits that are on the National Historic Trail System. So we'll have better information about the Lewis and Clark expedition here, and better information about the Oregon Trail. And those will both have national level reach through the National Park Service and those historic trails. And we got 2 grants to fund those, one from the tourism committee and then one from Visit River. And those should all be installed and completed by September of 2024. So later this summer, you're able to come learn some new stuff and everything will look shiny and fancy. I also do a lot of network management and resource referral. The relationships that I have built at the museum, I think, are really beneficial to the whole community. I think that each and every one of you has come to me at some point and said, who do I need to talk to about this? And I think I do a lot to help facilitate that, but it's kind of hard to quantify. But some of those processes that have helped include connecting our local businesses and the port with access to AI data for marine park users and for business users in Cascade Box. We've worked with ODOT to manage the permit system for Multnomah Falls, which is coming back this Friday, just heads up. The only way to visit Multnomah Falls for free this year is to come see us at the museum or to go to the Gateway to the Gorge Visitor Center in Troutdale. Those are the only 2 places that have the free visitor passes that don't charge the $2 on your phone or the $10 that Sasquatch is going to charge at the Highway 30 lot. And then we've also been working with OSHA to review different hazards in our workplace, specific to museum collections, which has been really interesting. And then also leveraging those relationships with regional funders to get those grants so that we can keep doing projects. I've been working on a lot of our administrative processes. I redid the whole filing system while we were during this grant period, which was it's not exciting for anybody but me, but I think the impact of that is going to be for when those questions come in and it's gonna help a lot with the speed with which we can get an answer. So I don't have to go digging around in some very strange and esoteric file and match an index card with a handwritten ledger. I can just answer the question because we can find things. It's really important. I do a lot of customer service, especially on behalf of the port. I'm at the front desk at least an hour every day where I am the one that's answering how did we pay for parking? What is the Thunder Island? Where is the beach? Like all of those things that come through on the weekends, we're there for that. We have that big sign that says information and we got it. So, and then the really fun part is all the historical research I get to do. So my current rabbit hole that I'm on is trying to tease out exactly what the drama was that happened between the first contractor and the second contractor who were building the Bridge of the Gods.
Love it.
Yeah. I can't wait to find out because they do all of this fundraising, they have this big 3,000 person kickoff, and then they just disappear for 2 years before they find the next contractor to come in and actually build the bridge. And then after the bridge is complete, they all run for office.
Wow.
This is like monorail.
So other funders that supported this role during the grant period include the museum's operating cash. We have a pretty diverse portfolio that includes everything from admissions to royalties to gift shop sales and sponsorships and membership dues. We contract with the city of Cascade Locks to provide those tourism services, and we also have a small endowment at the Gorge Community Foundation that has provided operating support as well. Does anyone have any questions before I move on to what we're doing next? Sure.
I have a couple questions really probably for you guys. I forgot, is it a dollar from the streamer or is it all dollar from the other dock that's going in?
ACL.
From
I
ACL,
believe it's $1.50, right?
$1.50.
$1.50.
That hasn't,
So
obviously.
yeah, until the dock's built,
Gotcha.
but it is in the contract.
We do look forward to welcoming back cruise ship passengers whenever they get here, but
For sure.
that was a fun summer the year we had that.
We also, I mean, you mentioned the research that you do, but we rely on the museum for research quite regularly. When we're filling out for some grants or.
I answered some very strange questions.
Yeah.
I think what year that paid for the gravel that made the promenade along the marine park.
I think I think you were doing some research for me on the mill and the pilings that were out there and finding photography that could document exactly when that project started to roll up. And so, although it's fun research like the bridge and what was that fight about, there's actual research that she provides support that helps us with a lot of the grant stuff we do. And if she ever starts charging me for that.
So that is a lot that you do for the port, because you are supporting leadership, yeah.
Yeah, if there's any sort of research historical question and we can't immediately find it in our records, that's talking about potentially going down to the basement in house 3 and going through files, which who knows, and very often.
I would give it those.
Get to that information back, if you can't find it in our files that are 30, 40, 50 years old.
Thank you.
One of the things you mentioned was obviously information, transitioning that information and pointing people in the right direction. How symbiotic is that with a lot of other places? Like the other businesses they're pointing to, like, are there incentives for, say, someone goes to the sailing place or to the campground to put them your way?
We have a pretty good relationship with the campground just because of its proximity. I would love to see it continue to improve with signage or even like, you know, an add-on for museum admission with the.
I think that's something we discussed at one time and maybe did never advance, was offering to be able to purchase a museum ticket when you book your hotel or you book your camp spot, right? So,
We're thinking is something even as simple as, like, obviously you're, you know, talking support, like, are there something as simple as like flyer, but at port places like the campground or anywhere, Marine Park, they can open by.
Yeah, I think the challenge with flyers outdoors here is that it's raining.
Yeah, the flyers are just
We
like,
do, whenever we have events, we do put, posters on any of the bulletin boards that are available, and
Right.
those are frequently at the port. You guys have, I think, 3 on your property that we will put stuff on.
yeah, it wasn't necessarily flyers, it was just, the idea was more just like advertising word of mouth
Yeah.
awareness for you.
Yes,
You're not on our website, though, are
I think there should be a direct link between your website and our
Is
website,
that good?
because there was a lot of changes that we were like, oh, now we have to get into the website and change it on this page and this page. And I think we changed it over to just a direct link.
More importantly, maybe it's our podcast.
One more project. Someone awards me a grant for a full-time person to come and do a podcast.
Okay, that's great.
Great, did you want?
No, go ahead.
Upcoming projects, yeah, so for the rest of 2023, we've got those exhibits to build, we will also be. Doing the retrofitting on the port, it's the port facility that's our office that we'll be doing those updates to. And that's mostly just a paint job and new furniture, but, I think we had also talked about a bike rack, that was in the grants. And then we will also be undergoing a project called Reorg, which is an international standard for organizing museum collections quickly and efficiently, which I'm super excited about because it'll mean that we're taking better care of the historic objects and that, again, we know where they are and what we have. We will get a grant for that I'm not allowed to announce yet, but it's been told quietly that we've been awarded it, so we'll get some new furniture coming in, and you'll see more about that later this month.
Could we go to executive sessions?
Terrible, Jack of that certain 1954 Girl Scout uniform.
Oh, no, not that one, we'll make sure we take care of that too. Yeah, and then, so our visitor services, we're continuing to expand our capacity there as far as destination development goes. And we actually got mentioned in the LA Times on Sunday for those visitor services. It's huge. But like, bro, I, like, little history museum 1,000 miles away does not get mentioned in the LA Times, that's crazy. It's
awesome.
It's all about Loma Falls, but like, it says Cascade Locks Historic Museum there. Yeah.
Put that on the website for sure.
I was texting out a lot of screenshots yesterday that highlighted.
Mentioned in LA Times.
We're very excited.
Promote the heck out of that.
Okay, now I'm good.
Okay, good, okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Janice.
Thank you, Janice.
I think it's just really great for the grant recipients to come and report directly to you, answer your questions. We have a lot of, they have done their work for this part of the calendar year. We have a lot of work to do on forming our port funded, what is it, port funded projects is the name of the line item in our budget that you just approved. Which is really a community benefit initiative grant program. We have a fund, but we don't really have a formal program. And so in my memo on page 10, I just wanted to highlight to the commission that we'll be asking you to provide your guidance on how to set up the program and to specifically make some decisions about applicant and project eligibility criteria, multi-year funding allowances, annual budget planning process for the fund, which we're hoping that these letters of intent would in 2025 precede the budget meeting so that we know, okay, we've received, this many letters of intent to apply for the next year's funding. So that'll be a little bit more informed decision for you and the budget committee going forward on setting the grant fund. We want to talk about how you want to establish priorities within the grant fund and application scoring criteria. And to what degree you want the projects to tie into the strategic business plan goals. Whether or not you want to require match, either cash or in kind, or no match required. Some application requirements, what would be the form and content of the application, including what kind of questions do you want answered? The project budget, and will you require letters of support? We'd like to have you think about the application evaluation process. Do you want to establish an evaluation committee, or do you want it to be a staff report? Or would you rather have the commission be the evaluation committee and have a meeting where you go through the applications at a certain time of the year and approve or disapprove them, or some other process? And what would you like to see specifically on the grant reporting requirements? Janice and Lindsay were very generous to take some very vague instructions from me for their reports this year, and just bring us what you have is pretty much what I told them. Let's get more specific next year of exactly what you want to see in your grant reporting. And then talk about some application approval, reporting timelines and deadlines. And of course, Tommy should give us some legal consult on any legal considerations in the grant fund, especially tied to our powers within 777. And so that will be coming in the coming weeks, and hopefully quickly, so we'll be able to make awards when our recipients need them awarded. So far this year, we received, of course, a request of 110,000 from the city for the electricity project, not an application, but basically an expression of intent. I think it's already been approved.
That one's been approved and really only made it into that line item to continue to show that that's where it should belong.
It should belong there, yeah. And then, as you heard tonight, interest from the Energy Council and the museum to apply this year. And previously, we heard from the Northwest Trail Alliance, interest in about $10,000 to $11,000 for an easy climb skills park. So far, that's what I've heard from staff. There may be others once we issue a formal call for applications. So that's it.
I'm super excited. This is one of the things I'm more excited out of coming out of this budget. $150,000 is not a small grant fund.
Is the 110,000 eating a chunk of that this year?
No, I put 200, we put 260 in there, so you guys have the whole 150.
Yeah, it's 150 after the.
After the, so yeah, you have 150 after the 110, so 260. And really, like the city, that money was already promised, but the way that they would come to us in the future would be out of that line item, so we just decided to put it in there to make it make sense. But that's not a small number of amount of money that you guys need to give out. So we're really excited about it and excited to put that together.
We've gotten a little bit in the weeds on the staff level, also talking about how the grant fund financially can report things that, for example, community events that receive a rental of a port facility like the pavilion at no cost really should be recorded somewhere as a port contribution to a community entity. And so maybe we do that within the grant fund as well, where this is not a grant for cash, but it's a grant for forgiven rent for, you know, an event or something like that. So that's a little bit too far in the weeds, but we're trying to figure out how do we make sure all of those sorts of, you know, community benefit acts and gifts and awards are reported within the budget and reported.
Well, we'll be looking forward to hearing more about it in the upcoming weeks and months.
You want to talk about some of that stuff now, or is it gonna be more?
Yeah, it's just a warning that we're gonna be asking you to
That's what.
think about it now,
That's right.
talk about it, yeah.
Okay, let's go.
Bridge of the Gods signage update. Assuming that's part.
Me. So bringing this forward to kind of update you guys on where we're at in the process of the new sign for the Bridge of the Gods.
Are you applying for a grant?
Taking I have mine. Yeah, you guys have my number.
We need some new fishing poles.
So currently, the Bridge of the Gods sign is aging and need replacement. Ford is looking for an option that is both informative and aesthetically pleasing for the millions of visitors across the bridge each year. The staff has reached out to potential companies to design, fabricate, install a new sign, and thus far has received 2 proposals. Northwest Sign Solutions has been serving the Vancouver and Gordon area since 2007. Clients include Tidewater, Stevenson High School, and Indian Creek Golf Course. Security Signs have been providing design, manufacturing, installation, and maintenance of signage since 1925. Their major projects include Providence Park, Next Adventure, the Duck Store, and the Tillamook headquarters. At this time, the update aims to keep you guys informed and involved in the updating of the Bridge of God sign. No decision is being requested. All of these designs in here, I have requested some additions to the designs or retrofits to the designs. They have not been submitted back. And if you guys have comments, anything on any of these, I would love to hear them. Can you please flip through? Rob?
And
You might even put it up on the screen.
And I'll give Parker all the credit that he's due here. This is a project that I probably fumbled a little bit. It seemed like it was going to be very easy. I got a call from Lou Palermo, who's the executive director for the Interpretive Center now.
Columbia Gorge Museum.
Columbia Museum. They changed their name from the Interpretive Center. And she said, "Hey, the back of the sign said," and she said, "You know, we'd really like to change that." And I said, "Oh, that's great, because that sign needs to go. It's been bugging me forever." Once we actually got a good look at the sign, we realized that it's backlit and it's got halogen bulbs in it that have never been changed out. That's the reason they used to have that sort of pop out where you could. And so once we started taking it apart, we pulled the other sign down, we found this beautiful hand painted thing you guys see now, and it looked even worse. And so it's been a little bit of comedy of errors of taking something that looked kind of okay and just making it worse and worse and worse. Lou has agreed that she's gonna fundraise for half of the cost of the sign, even though she's not fully aware what that cost is going to be yet. I didn't want to wait for that fundraising to occur. I need that sign to look better soon, and we're gonna have all of our summer traffic coming here. PCT hikers, everyone else standing in front of that sign, getting their picture taken, so we need to move faster than maybe that fundraiser will. But we'll send the bill and the funds will come in as they can. The examples that he's given that Parker's tracked down here. Oh, go ahead, Parker.
I should also say Lou also gave me their update on their rebranding for the Columbia Gorge Museum. So some of the design you see in here pertaining to the Columbia Gorge Museum will be changed and will be different. The Bridge of the Gods sides of all these, you can expect similar results.
So this sign won't be, I guess that's why we're having this discussion with you guys. It's sort of what your vision is for it. When I thought it was just to take a sign down, throw a sign up kind of a project, we were just gonna throw up pretty much exactly what we had and it was gonna be good, but it's getting a little bit more complex than that. And so I think we just want your fingerprints sort of on what should the sign say? Do we say Bridge of the Gods? Do we want to say Welcome Cafe Lock? Do we want logos? Do logos make it too busy? Do we want PCT days? There's already PCT time there. There's also an example of a sign that dates back, I think, 5-6 years. It's huge and enormous and $120,000. But if this commission goes, hey, that's the sort of entry we need coming into this town, we have money in the bridge fund to spend on a sign. I don't know that we want to spend 120,000, but I wanted to show you sort of some of the examples that other commissions have been through as well. We didn't know that's what we were doing. We asked them to design a new sign and then brought us.
Might be one of those overly attractive. Maybe it's just me, but they're not doing it for me.
And if time restraints are not something, we have some other options that I can pursue that involve some community partners that are from the area.
That one lights up and it's $120,000.
That's your pretty.
And it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah, well, you look at the one in Troutdale where he's got salmon on both sides and this big, architectural thing. Yeah, I don't know what they paid for that.
That is not completely out of the question. I think it was completely out of the question when I was gonna throw a sign up, take a sign down. But with your guys' vision of this town being very tourism focused, those types of destination signs that we can get people taking pictures in front of, standing next to, putting on Instagram, showing to their friends, those things make an impact, right? So I think, wow, that's crazy.
I do like the option number one from security signs. It seems like they've been in business for a long time and they're also 100 years old. The bridge is turning 100 years old, so we should do it right and do it once. Also the fact that it is part of the PCT trail. So I think we can get some funding from outside parties as well to help with this cost. But the option one really has that national park feel to it. the nighttime.
I don't know
illumination.
that you need to have it illuminated at night, though, I don't know, it seems very legacy to me, and we're in the.
These all come as options to be illuminated or non-illuminated, and so there is an obvious cost savings in that.
Like we
And
could just point a couple spotlights up at it instead of having like a neon sign.
Our biggest concern about illumination is someone breaking it. I believe that's what happened the last time. That's why we went this way. And where that sign is located at, in order to replace those bulbs, you're talking about stopping traffic.
Difference between externally lighted and internally lighted, also, if the city's restrictions to illuminated signs comes into play, because.
Well, that one falls right outside of the city limits, so we might have to talk to Washington.
That was gonna be my question.
Yeah,
because,
good question.
They have no internally lighted signs. That being said, I guess the motel there, kind of skated around it because they didn't ask for permission, they just went ahead and did it, but,
What motel are you talking?
the one down by the now defunct, Cascadian.
Oh, yeah, but this wouldn't even be.
Washington.
This is Washington side.
Is option two?
We don't worry about it.
It's option one.
Yeah,
I like option
I
two as
prefer.
well.
I think option two matches some of the natural beauty in the area.
Yeah.
And highlights the more, just more of the colors that we
Yeah.
like here.
and that's really this conversation is today, is get an idea of, like, if you guys just said, no, take the sign down, put a new sign up, like, we would go with what's cheapest and what looks the best and move on it. But if there's an opportunity for you guys to want to sort of put a thumbprint this on being a bigger project, then cool, let's dive into it.
The numbers that you're telling us, or is that full, or is that is that at half price? Because you said half would be from.
I would have to have a very strong conversation. I do not believe Lou is on the hook for a $60,000 sign. I think he probably has more like $7,000.
So the 128, like number you're throwing out is not with anyone else.
That's right.
That'd be-
Is it so, I mean, the one that lit up, is it solar? I mean, maybe it would be
No.
not an elimination if they did a solar.
I imagine we could look into like solar retrofit, but it was bid as a hardwired.
And is it cheaper if we don't get lighting?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could go, so each one of these had like the brown sign was somewhere around 88 total. And you could drop, I think it was somewhere around 10 to 15 for the warning system. And you saw the top end of the sign, and that was the one that was really light.
Yeah.
And you kind of fall incrementally about like that, about 40,000 per.
Also, we'll have to look at the impacts of these posts, because if you look at option one and option two from security signs. Option one, is my preference, it's definitely a lighter aluminum column, and if we do have plans for a spanway, we have to see how that interferes with the spacing on the side of the bridge.
Yeah, I agree with that, Rob. And I'm not entirely sure if that, is something retrofitted onto the current poles that are there. Or if it would be an entirely new set of pillars going up there.
I think what we maybe be looking for is just some direction on, do you want us to investigate the time to see a couple different price points for signs? I think we have two now, is like a base level and probably.
So that's what we could.
That's
what-
really
what
like
team
what
could
it says
perform
now,
is.
right?
We could pretty well order a sign from one of our sign producers that we deal with here at the port. For fairly cheap, then go up there and get signed back up the way we took it down.
That's pretty much exactly what it would be, right?
Yeah, that's almost identical to what it looked like.
When we bid, Northwest Sign, it looks like they. Just gave us back the idea of taking it down, put it exactly back up.
Yes.
Whereas the other one obviously did more to it.
Yeah.
Northwest Sign, like, were they given that direction, just take it down, put it back up, what would those options look like? Or,
I gave them fairly vague directions. I gave them verbiage that I'd like to see. I wanted to have the two different options, so you guys could see, like a welcome to Cascade Locks option versus the Bridge of the Gods option, which is what we had originally. But I did not give them any sort of budgetary constraints or anything like that. That's just what they were able to produce.
What's the lifespan or longevity of one of those like national park looking wood signs?
I would have to do a bit more research.
Also, the timeline of when this could be completed, are we shooting to have this as kind of a grand opening of the bicentennial in 2026.
I hope that.
So I mean, that would, yeah, I mean, that would kind of be up to you guys, like, in my mind, when I started this project, I was gonna have it up in like 35 to 45 days, like it was gonna be a.
For that one.
For that, yeah, right, but that was just my vision for it, like, take one out, get one back up, it's not cracked in half, we don't light it up anymore.
Maybe can we do something temporary until we have funds to do something?
Absolutely, so we could, and that is an option that I would love to bring to you guys. We have another partner that I don't want to bring forward because they have not agreed to anything. But a local group that has a CNC machine, they do a lot of really great woodwork in the area. They've made some other great signs. And they're just a local school group that runs, so that would really delay us timeline wise. But we could put something up temporary that my guys get up there as a Band-Aid, and then we could go from there. And pursue another option in that.
Then we're paying twice.
Yeah, but if you think about the little amount of money we would pay for this sign versus dealing with a local partner, more so volunteers, then it would be.
Sounds like child labor.
Just kidding. It's, they're a group that's very enthusiastic about the project. They would love to do it. Well,
I would just say one thing, because I was here when we did the first sign that's not usable anymore. But that sign said the Bridge of the Gods when they're approaching the Bridge of the Gods, and when they come past the toll booth, there's other signs that say welcome to Cascade Locks, I think 2 of them.
there is still currently a sign that says welcome to Cascade.
Right.
So
And plus, when you come into town on that ODOT property, you put a sign, welcome to Cascade Locks too.
well,
Yeah. The city has the grant to do wayfinding signage. Over the course of the next year, I would suggest that we try to get the landing plan online.
yeah,
When we're looking into the signing aspects of this.
I think that we align well. We're trying to work closer with the city. Well,
I've also got some really hilarious historic pictures for the signing.
Number.
thanks for.
So really, there's a lot of here, our tolerance for continuing to look at what it looks like now, it looks bad, like there's no way around it, it looks bad. And so it's sort of our tolerance for how long do we let it look like that, knowing that we're working on something that we're gonna be proud of, right? Or how soon do we get something else up there that doesn't compare?
The temporary fix it looks better than what's currently not out there, it is like falling apart and everything. And that would give us time then to
Research better.
research better, take time if it means more expensive fabrication, something like that, we can also then possibly split it up over 2. Budget cycles, you know.
With the Bridge Centennial coming, you know, if it's something that we'd like to.
Definitely, you know.
Oh,
The same thing.
Like the bridge up than have a fancy sign, you know, can we have both? I don't know. But sign longevity is the.
Well, take-
Before you buy that much money.
It sounds like I'll take my guys' notes, I'll go and I'll get you an estimate on everything for a quick replacement or a temporary replacement, and then I'll come back.
I mean, even if it's just a seasonal like banner we hang up in place.
So like what
Banner that covers it up and.
how that was built, so there's the original sign that had the ability to slide and fix the lights, pull the lights out, and then you'd slide the sign half back into place.
Mhm.
That was the one that was cracked. At some point, someone built a metal jig that housed the big polycarbonate sign on the top of it, so we could do that. We kept the jig. So we can just drill a new sign back into it, a big polycarbonate sign. That could be color scheme design, however you guys like it, as long as it fits in that square. And then we could go from there. Now would be a much more affordable option for us, where we're not having someone design or install fabric, it's just a fabrication. No installation, then we can get it up there the way we took it down.
The sign that's hanging there now, is for, I guess, economics of interest to me, is that sign is $34,000. Share 50/50 with the museum.
Holy moly.
And yeah, and that's been several years, a long time ago. And But the price difference now is like, wow.
Well, no, but they,
But they also delayed it, right? So they may have had to put the infrastructure in order to light that sign at that time, so that could have been some of the cost as well.
Does the lighting still work on the sign? Is it?
No.
No,
But
okay.
it's got electricity.
There is electricity at the base of the pole that's been stunted that we could tap into.
Was that fluorescent bulbing?
Yeah, yeah, what's there now is fluorescent bulbing. Or I will say that the lower end signs both fall very near that cost. Okay.
How long ago was that, put in? The old.
I think I have paperwork in my office all about it, but I don't remember, it's been some time. But I know that we got 17,000 from them and it was a 50-50. Cause they got 50% of the sign, and we got 50% of the sign.
I'm just thinking like $34,000 like 30 years ago.
No, cause I've only been there for 24 years, so
So
it's been,
$34,000 24 years ago is.
you could have bought a house.
Yeah, exactly. Purely from an aesthetic standpoint, you'll probably. You'll probably, maybe join in on this, but, just from a readability standpoint. I typically, from my own personal professional career, especially from signage standpoint. We would have to do sans serif, because it'd be way, like, whenever you throw in serifs, you throw in cursive. Those things, it becomes way too hard for people to read, especially when they're driving 55 miles an hour.
Do any of these options line up with that?
The ones that you were showing, the Bridge of the Gods, the Bridge and Gods, from a block standpoint is fine, but the of the gets lost.
It's a little weird.
Yeah, okay.
So just something to, I've done branding and signage for dozens of places, and we always lose, like the recall. People just can't read it.
Yeah.
Comic Sans is out.
Pirates is also out. It's something like, no, not that we would do it, but number one, which just says Cafe Locks, like that is.
Leisure
legible,
typical.
but the welcome to pretty long.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And, yeah,
Perfect. So it sounds like, generally have some interest in you guys being involved with this, and the scale of which we approach sounds like that's still up for debate as well. So I think we'll go back and we'll bring you maybe 2 or 3 different options at 2 or 3 different price scales. Once we sort of dial in on it, this seems like the value that we, or the amount of money that we want to spend, and talk about time frame. And we can also then really get down into the details of the actual design that we go with. So, cool. I wasn't sure. There was a certain amount of me that thought you guys might come back and be like, no, it looks terrible. Get a sign up tomorrow. I don't care if it's plastic.
It does look terrible.
It does look terrible, but it has for a while, so.
Yeah, that's fair.
I would be curious if. If they just had this mentality of just replacing what's currently there. I wonder if we gave them, if we pushed them, if they would go to the other end. Because obviously, from a design aesthetic standpoint, whoever was the second security science, like, just was like, let's just blow it all up and start over.
Yeah.
These guys looked from the design, was just like, oh, what's up there now?
based on the salesman that I talked to at both places, the security signs was much more imaginative.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, and so I do think that we gave them the freedom or instructed them. When I did like something more elaborate, they could absolutely produce that. They have,
Produce that as banners for probably less than $1,000
Oh, sure.
for something temporary anyway.
Yeah.
All correct, yeah.
Yeah, so
Have a nice fancy sign.
Maybe does this.
Perfect.
Just.
So yeah, maybe we'll take a look at the next meeting, seeing what our cheapest, fastest option is to get something up there as a placeholder while we work on this project. So maybe, like you said, we go back to the with carbon, whatever,
Oh, we used a couple different quotes, but color grays, which will been
the
one,
material
polycarbonate.
that we use, the polycarbonate, pop it back in place. Be happy with that for the time being, knowing that we want to do something better.
Also, do we have an update about the mural that's underneath the bridge on the Cascade Lock side? Is that something that's gonna be done in the next 2 years?
I don't have that on my radar whatsoever.
Okay. Is
It's not
that,
our year.
that was commissioned by the city or was that from the port?
yeah, it was done with somebody else's money and we just let them put it on there, but it's
Okay.
not, we didn't pay for it, it's not ours.
Yeah.
Janice, who was it?
Right, right.
It's on tourism's radar as something to work on in January when arts grants are out, so.
Yeah, what about the bridge under the railroad too? We have lots of empty wall space and ugly paint there.
That's one that, I tried.
Yeah.
We'll keep hammering at that. We reached out to the elementary school to talk about some sort of design down there that the kids worked on. It fell a little bit flat. I think we'll re-tackle it again, maybe a school run. I mean, it'd be
We
great.
definitely have some talented artists.
We do. We got talented artists and we're offering to, anyway, yeah, it kind of fell flat. There just wasn't a lot of interest. We may need to try again for next year.
I think you said one of the limitations was the railroad rusts.
The rust, so that's why they painted it brown most recently, because the rust comes down and stains it. So they thought if we painted brown, they wouldn't see the rust. There was also some concerns from some folks in maintenance that it's a little bit of a risky spot to have a bunch of kids stand in. It is a tough little angle to see. I'm sure we could flag it. There are ways around it, but there's challenges to it, but I was excited about it. I wanted that to be a mural since the beginning, so.
Well, thank you guys, this is exciting, man. I'll come back to you with another option here that I think you guys will like a lot. And so we'll move forward with that. Thank you.
Thanks for having that first.
All righty. Open public hearing for various budget. Little script here. Open public hearing dealing with proposed budget under ORS 294.453. Commission will now take public testimony. Is there anybody on the screen that wants to take public testimony? Or wants to give public testimony? Yeah, we'll do it a couple of minutes and then we'll close the public hearing if nobody has any objections.
That's like an iPhone and I'll give that to Matt.
Hearing none,
Who's on the iPhone?
somebody wants to give testimony there if it's written. That's something to do with public hearing. Is that? Okay, well, since there is no public comment, I guess I'll close the public hearing. So, or I'll adjourn the public hearing. And okay, now I'll close the public hearing under ORS 294.473. Okay, moving right along. Business action items, adopt resolution 2024-2.
The Board of Tax Block Budget Committee convened on April 23rd, 2024, and May 14th, 2024, to review and vote on the proposed fiscal year 2024-25 budget. Following a comprehensive review and deliberation, the committee voted to recommend the budget for adoption by the commission. The fiscal 24-25 budget is now being presented to the commission for consideration. Recommendation to adopt the fiscal 24-25 budget is recommended by the budget committee. The options are, most options are there before you.
Well, I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 24-2, a resolution by the Port of Catholic Law Support Commission adopting the 2024 to 2025 budget, making appropriations and building property taxes for the year 2024 to 2025, and adopting certain policies.
Yeah, there's been a motion in the second to adopt resolution 2024-2. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes, and the resolution is adopted. Great. Approve employee handbook update.
Hello again, commissioners. During today's seventh regular session, the commission reviewed a draft update to the court's employee handbook. And staff requested further commission review and input in the draft. The draft that you have in your packets tonight include some changes that were recommended by individual commissioners. And I'm just really quickly going to review those at a high level here. On your packet, page number 93, based on the recommendation by Commissioner Peterson, who has included a social media and networking policy. This is the policy, pretty much word for word, that is provided by the Special Districts Association of Oregon for their social media and networking policy. If you'll turn to page 99, the section highlighted in yellow is based on Commissioner Tweed's recommendation that we also include consideration of garments and head coverings included in our dress code allowances, for non-discrimination and cultural expression. And so that sentence reflects that there. On page 115, Melissa caught an error that I had on the very last line of that page. I had put in the original draft that we had 26 pay periods in a year. We actually only have 24, so Melissa caught that on it. On page 123, the recommendation of Commissioner Nance, we have included Indigenous Peoples Day as a port holiday. This addition does have a fiscal impact, and Jeremiah has looked at the budget to make sure that it's still doable and that we're okay. It's just something we had to look at. Page 124, the 125, the top of 125, that entire section in yellow, I want you to know we are still waiting on legal counsel review of that section. In the original draft, I think that you guys reviewed, we had a section that was based on sick leave versus paid personal leave. We reverted back to our current paid personal leave policy. This is actually the policy that's currently in place, but we still want to have legal review of that one, make sure we're in compliance. So that section may change. We'll make sure that you know if it does.
Super tiny thing.
Yeah.
Back to Indigenous Peoples Day,
Yes.
the population come after the S because it's a plural.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Good catch. We'll change that. Thank you. On page 129, another section that we need to have legal review for. Current practice at the port is during a employee's unpaid portion of their family leave. Currently, the port their benefits continue to accrue, correct me if I'm wrong, and the port continues their insurance with them paying their portion. So this section would represent a change in that. It's a little bit confusing. The draft, I haven't changed this section that says that practice would cease. So we're looking for commission input on, should we keep the practice as it is now, or do you guys want to change it so that during the unpaid portion of family leave and employees' benefits would not continue to accrue and the health insurance would only be available to them through COBRA?
which is a pretty drastic change. So currently that is not in policy that that's what the report does. It's not in the handbook that way, but in practice, that's what it has done in the past. So this would be a change in practice.
Where did you say that?
Okay, so during family medical leave, you have a number of weeks that are paid leave. When it all runs out, when all of your different forms of paid leave run out, you can continue to have leave, meaning your job is safe, but you're unpaid during that time. You've run out of your all of your leave available. Current practice is if you are still intending to return to work and you're still within the leave allowance, the board continues to pay your insurance and your benefits continue to accrue. This text would change that, and it's more standard text, but it would change that policy. We can certainly choose not to change that policy, and to continue to pay the board's portion of an employee's insurance during their unpaid leave of absence.
So what if it was the employee and, having the resume happened, then we would put them on COBRA, then they would have to deal with insurance.
Yeah,
Would we
and
change
yeah,
it?
so it's the
That's
less,
awful.
yeah, it's the less friendly version that's in here right now.
That sounds
So
very
we take it out, okay. Yes.
I haven't seen anything in the handbook about AI, artificial intelligence yet.
Oh.
I believe in confidentiality section, there are AI models out there that are public, and when you feed information in there, it actually might expose sensitive documents that we have to that learning model, so.
Okay,
You might wanna see like what other local governments are doing with that.
okay.
I think the term is called generative AI in the policies. It's a really new concept. A lot of places don't have it yet, but it's something.
Thanks for bringing it up, because we get back to
Yeah.
this, what we were
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah.
I want to make sure we fully explore this.
I'm in agreement that, seems like a serious hassle. I mean, when you talk about a hassle. Anybody who's ever dealt with health insurance companies, which we've been dealing with lately. What a
Yeah.
pain, and for the overall fiscal, impact to the report, I would say. Let's not enforce the
Yeah.
whole COBRA.
Cobra is really expensive
It
too.
is.
Right. And Melissa, you had said in the time that we've been in that situation.
It hasn't been a lot.
It's very, very rare.
Like I said, the overall impact.
Actually,
It's
it's like
pretty small.
2006, 13 going back, is the commission lowered the accumulation of hours that staff could bank.
Right.
So if you
They have a
have
maximum of
a serious
120.
surgery, even childbirth and wanna be home more than 12 weeks, you don't have enough leave to do that because you can't bank that much yet. And if you have the flu that year too, so. I
It's
think,
capped at 120 hours.
sick leave is 120 and vacation is 200, but they used to be over 300 each.
So we can nix that whole part and just put in policy that the port will continue to pay port's portion of health insurance and benefits will continue to accrue.
We're not paying their wages
Right.
more than they can accumulate.
Right.
Right.
But we're just, if they're like in good standing and coming back and stuff,
Yeah.
we don't. In the past, we haven't canceled them or froze their,
Because we're specifically talking about, basically their health insurance,
Right.
eye insurance, whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
yeah, definitely.
they're out
line,
of
like,
that way, you might be needing to rely on the insurance. Right.
Yeah. It's,
So thank you to Melissa for catching that, and what we'll do is just do the inverse of this policy in that section.
just for an employee for this next year for 1 month on Cobra would cost them over $1,000 a month.
Yeah,
And they're not making that much when they're off work.
I mean, when I was laid off, Cobra was an option, and that was back in 2004, 2000, yeah, it was like 700 a month back then even, so.
Yeah, it's expensive.
So just to be the jerk, right? Let's try a different one. So let's say someone gets sick and it's a long-term illness that stretches years. They intend to come back if they get better.
Well, it doesn't FMLA have limits, then they'd have to go on disability, and that's different.
yeah. Well, with the new Oregon paid leave, it's essentially 12 weeks every year, every calendar year.
Right.
But it, it breaks up. It's not
Right.
continuous.
So this is saying that after they,
Yeah. After you've expended all of your leave and you continue to need leave, but it's unpaid,
but it's unpaid,
that what we're seeing, what
Well, the short term, sorry to interrupt, but the short term disability would only go to 180 days. And on both sides of the river, you can stretch the new unemployment stuff and everything longer, but it is. But not past that 180 days. And in fact, we've been notified, I told Genevieve, I think this week or last week, that we're not even gonna have short-term disability going forward. They're canceling it because as employees, we don't need short-term disability and paid Oregon leave because you can't collect both. And so we would be paying premiums on something that people may not even use. So, but we still are gonna have a long-term disability, but I don't think we would have, maybe we should put a cap on time on there.
right. So that's
sort of the question around time, right? It's like, I mean, at what point in time are they maybe not coming back, but why would they say they're not? Because they get health insurance from the court, which they need to get through this. Again, just being the jerk in the room, because this is
Well, there is
one of the things to talk about, but.
a time frame that you have protected leave, and then there's the next day you do not have protected leave.
So this is during the protected leave, but the unpaid portion of protected leave. So they're not earning their salary, but you want
You
to
know how long protected leave is? Sorry to push on slides, you know.
12 weeks.
It could be, it can, I'm sorry, it can be 12 weeks or longer.
Okay, so that at least puts some sort of number on
That's
it, where
3
that
months.
puts us back in a position to make a decision on case by case basis. So that's okay.
Yeah, cause I mean, you mentioned like someone goes on mat leave,
12 weeks.
so thank you. Then.
And they have to fill the paperwork out before they go on that leave too, or really shortly after.
Right.
And I have the paperwork in my office.
For a 12-week protected leave, the insurance stays in place, and then obviously we have to review each case after that.
Yeah, I just think it's like wildly cruel if someone is in a terrible health situation to be like, oh. Hey, sorry, go to Cobra,
Right.
like that's
Right.
it's just cruel.
Yeah.
If it is like a situation where it's like 5 years, 2 years, or 3 years, or whatever. But like maybe it is a situation of like revisit.
Well, we just were looking at your leave is protected for 12 weeks, so after that 12th week, like the court no longer has to keep you employed. We have that option, so as long as that option exists, that at 12 weeks, now we handle things on a case by case basis based on. Then I think.
That's the chair.
I think that's the chair, right?
Days on certain.
So that 12 weeks kicked in, we go, okay, so listen, we have the situation, it's not a 12-week illness, it's an 18-week illness. They plan to come back, and then we can decide on sort of a case by case basis.
So we'll do that, and we'll also, like I said, when we do ask you to, if you want to tonight, approve the handbook with those changes as written, but with the changes, we still would like you, or if you choose to approve it at the next meeting or the meeting after that, we'd like to have it approved before the end of the fiscal year, so that it can be effective next year.
I'd really like to have it approved at the next meeting, because that gives us time to do a page turn with all of the staff.
What we want you to do whenever you approve a final draft is to approve it subject to legal review and approval from the executive director, so that we can have one last wash through to make sure that those sorts of policies will stand up legally also.
I know there's something that I'm pretty passionate about that wasn't updated,
Oh, what did I miss?
the harassment policy.
Okay.
To make
Oh, you're right.
victims come forward.
Yes, you're right.
And it says all employees should report acts of harassment to themselves Can
you tell me the page number?
it's on page 12.
Yes, I remember.
And I do not want victims to hold that responsibility.
Yeah.
So victims have too much going on, then to have, be mandated to come forward.
I think, so in your packet tonight, it's on the last sentence on page 78. And I think what we had in the first draft was all employees must, or all employees have a duty to. And I think we just changed it to should. Sorry. I don't have-
Well, all employees is fine, but on page 12, it says, all employees should report acts of harassment to themselves or to others immediately. So that is saying to themselves as a victim to come forward. So if you just take out themselves into others, I think that would be fine. All employees should report acts of harassment immediately.
Got it.
Before it said to HR.
Okay, got it.
The way it's worded, it sounds grammatically funny, like,
Yeah.
report harassment to myself.
So to myself, right? Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well, what's the commission's pleasure on this? Are we gonna have it come back next week or
I'd like to do that.
approve it with the changes that we discussed and
Including what we just said about this in the 12 weeks and everything, I'm good with it.
is that a motion?
Are we looking for a motion?
Well, that would be the step, is make a motion to approve it with the
Our edits and subject to
change,
legal
with the edits that we
acceptance,
discussed.
legal review.
Yes.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the employee handbook with our edits that we spoke of this evening and subject to legal review
And approval by the executive director.
and approval by the executive.
And effective July 1st. And effective July 1st, exactly.
Effective July 1st.
And is that a second?
Yes, but.
Okay. There's been a motion and a second to approve the employee handbook with the edits that were proposed this evening. All those in favor?
I want to do discussion first.
Okay.
I don't think that I would say yes to this. I understand the timing that we have on it, but I want to make sure that everyone's 100% clear and clean with it. Like, I know that we have edits, but if those edits, like, we've already made edits like to the harassment stuff and it still comes back and it doesn't feel right. I would hate for us to say, cool, this is good with the edits, and they're not still capturing the spirit of what we're trying to get. So.
So you want to see it in
Yes.
context before we approve it?
And that's completely okay. We'd be more than happy to do that.
That's just my personal opinion from a discussion standpoint.
Okay, so how do we feel about this? Do you want to withdraw your motion and we'll go to an alternate motion, or do you want to go ahead and push this? Vote on it.
I'm good with Albert's suggestion. I'm really okay with either, but I'm not hard pressed for. either.
Okay, we have
Are we hard from the time standpoint?
I mean, we're not hard pressed, we wanna make sure that so there's changes in here that some of our staff are aware of and some staff are not, we didn't, right? So there's gonna be some things in here just from a manager's perspective, of explaining it to employees, making sure that they understand it, getting some of their feedback on it. There's just, there's a little bit to get through, before then. I think if we brought it back to the next meeting and did it then, that would probably give us enough time.
Yeah.
We also have a motion and a second, we can just vote on it, you guys can vote against it, and we can move on.
But she can also withdraw her motion.
She can withdraw a motion, that works too.
And then, and then we'll.
I know that you had brought me about the AI stuff. I have no idea what that's gonna look like.
Yeah, there's new legislation at both the federal and state levels that right now it's in research phase, so we're getting putting together a 14-person task force.
Yeah.
But there is one AI bill 1571 that does have some new language in there, but I don't know what that will transcend to in employee handbooks, so.
And I mean, we're going to. I mean, this is gonna get reviewed at least every other year, if not yearly, right? So it's not gonna be one of those ones that just stick on their stuff and develop for the last 16 years or however long we have the last one. That doesn't work. So we undoubtedly our AI policy is gonna change, even if we do it, the way, a lot of these are potentially going to change, so this isn't one of those things that you guys, this is it, it's set, we'll see it again next year. We'll look through it, we'll talk about changes that we need to make, that's fine.
I think it's good to have that conversation, it's coming up, but we can share.
Okay. So,
I'm gonna revoke my motion.
perfect.
And then with the changes, if you'll send the red
The
line.
red line version.
Yeah, got it. So we can review that.
So, so there will be no motion. We will just go ahead and, if you want to bring those back to us with, the modifications that we discussed this evening, and then we'll go over it one last time. Hopefully vote on it the next one.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
All right. Approve acceptance of Senate Bill 5701, general fund authority.
I make a motion, we approve that.
Great. Okay, I can. I'll second that motion. Okay, motion to second that we approve the acceptance of Senate Bill 5701, general fund grant. Any more discussion? We need discussion about whatever we want to accept.
Do we need to say one motion?
We have a second? We have a second? Second on that, okay.
Wait a
Been a
second.
motion a second? To approve Senate Bill 5701. All those in favor? Rob was second.
Who gave the initial?
He made it and he seconded it. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Executive Director report.
Just run through events a little bit, we are definitely embracing the event portion of running the sports. We've had a couple very large weddings over this last weekend, the events coordinator frequently is at my home, but not on weekends anymore, so she's been very busy, we're getting, I've already had good feedback from folks that had their wedding there, just saying, hey, I don't know if you know, this gal's doing an amazing job for you, so it's always exciting to get that feedback about any of our staff. Parker is full on catching up with that as well. We kept our maintenance department busy on a couple projects. One of them being a large scale bridge move that's now complete. We're certainly happy about that, but put us a little bit behind the 8 ball and getting the park up and running for the summer season. So we're working on that. We're mowing lawns, we're maintaining the grounds, we're moving picnic tables, we're getting porta potties ordered. We're moving full steam ahead into the summer session. Genevieve and Parker both who have been very busy with the, I'll get it wrong, NHMP.
National Hazards Mitigation Plan.
National Hazards Mitigation Plan.
Natural hazards, yes.
Not national,
Not
natural.
natural.
And I'll let Genevieve speak to that a little bit in her portion of it, but I certainly appreciate Parker and all the effort he's putting forth on it. Starting to see the campground pick up, we're getting great feedback from the campground, like our people who camp there, they just love it. Most of them are in their $120,000 van campers, but it's an ideal setup for them. And we're seeing more folks enjoy that.
Are they starting to already see the increased rates?
Yes, they are seeing increased rates. Did we get, no, we haven't had any comments on it. No one said, hey, it went up, I don't like it, I'm unhappy with it. So we'll see.
We're still continuing to book reservations. Haven't seen a dive in reservation booking since the increase.
I haven't followed up with Laurel on this yet, and I don't think I've asked you to, but we threw a Facebook advertisement up on the campground just to see if we got any traction on that.
But I didn't reach out.
Yeah, okay.
And we haven't heard anything back from you yet. I'm trying to implement a way to request guests, like how did you get here? Love it. And so when they book, they can say, hey, we heard from X or we heard from Y.
Looking to, go ahead, Jim, I'll let you do your admin piece.
What am I doing? I'm sorry.
Oh, admin.
Oh, okay. You want to do that? I'm in front. Okay. Okay, lots of preparations for Captain Tom Day. It's gonna be a fun event. We met with the Jetty Light crew today, talking about having the event happening entirely on the boat at dock, so people can come and go as they please. But we'll be starting at 5:30. The program will begin at 6.
And we'll wrap up at 7:30, so it'll be a fun celebration of a Columbia Gorge icon, Captain Tom Cramblett. Let's see, do you want to do all of these or?
Just go with, I mean, that's most of your.
Oh, okay, Commissioner Tweet was really generous to share with us, some of the information that she received at the Washington Public Course Association meeting. We attended the open house and kind of like the work sessions were really interesting, especially when I get the slides of the real estate section. I thought that was really interesting. Let's see, we have, closed out our ARPA grant. We have completely expended those funds. It was $1.3 million grant. And with the completion of the Sternwheeler Repower project, we are done with that grant. We've also submitted our final report for the $2.4 million lottery fund revenue grant. That is also wrapped up in a bow and done. So it's nice to have that. Thank you to all of you who have sent your comments on the strategic business plan draft to Moss Adams. They are incorporating those comments and edits now and getting ready to launch the online survey. Let's see. That's the ARPA grant. Parker, do you want to talk about the natural hazards mitigation plan work? We had Parker and I met with the U of O consultants that are working on the Cascade Locks addendum of the plan. And we were able to kind of go through our capabilities as a community, our critical facilities, and a list of projects that we want to have included on the plan. The natural hazards mitigation plan is at the same level as a, for example, transportation system plan for a community, or a community investment plan in terms of making it a project, a certain project eligible for funding on the federal level. So this is a really important plan for us to have all of our pie in the sky resilience projects listed so that they are eligible for funding in the coming years. But not only that, the plan itself is important because of the actions involved and the assessments involved, and Parker's been really, really involved in moving that forward. And
the only thing I would say is that it was really valuable the last meeting we had. I felt Genevieve brought forward some really good points and the changes we're implementing as a board and in staffing in our commission and what we have to offer the community here, just as the entity that we are. And there was some good additions to that I think gave them light into what we can perform and what we have to offer.
yeah, it's really on an upper level. It's really just on a policy wonky level. It's really nice to see the approach that they're taking in not only incorporating the ports as major entities of the plan, not just the city and the county, but they're also, this is the first year that they're incorporating fire districts and other special districts into the plan. So really recognizing what special districts do for public safety is just really, and natural hazards prevention. We were able to add, even small projects like invasive vegetation removal onto this plan, fuels reduction, that sort of thing, all the way up to, the building a large facility. So it's
Just having those on the plan is great. I mean, if we see some money that we come across that allows us to be able to do one of those projects, but that project isn't listed on some plan, we're not gonna get funded for it. So Genevieve's done a great job of, like you said, some of the pie in the sky or just some of the, this could happen and that would be helpful. And people say, oh yeah, it's on plan, we've got it.
It's on plan.
So it's been great.
Yeah, it's been a really cool process. Parker's been awesome.
I think a big shout out is to Charles.
Yeah. Charles Young is the Hood County Emergency Manager, and he's been an amazing shepherd, I think, for all of those. All of those things.
Whenever we met him, doing classes for individuals just in town for emergency preparedness.
Yeah, I can reach out.
Follow up on that at all?
I can reach out. I can follow up with that.
The idea was just classes for very rudimentary emergency like support.
Yeah.
So if there was some sort of like natural emergency, the fire department would be able to do their thing and local citizens would be able to help with like securing like someone breaks an arm, they can fix it.
Me and the chief.
Setting up cots.
Me and
setting
chief will
up
tag
this.
team that, me and chief will tag team that,
That's fun.
see if we can, I mean, as much as I want the board to lead that, I want the fire chief right beside me on it, so I think, yeah, I'll get with John Logan and we'll tap that.
Yeah, I was just, Margo was there, so I wanted to see if there was any like follow-up on that.
No, but no, Charles is, he's had his hands full. They're full force trying to update the NHMP and it's at the same time, they're trying to update the fire hazard.
Yeah,
The
yeah, community wildfire plan or
Yeah.
something like that.
FCW.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're doing that concurrently, which is really interesting.
But yeah, I think we have a couple of local entities too that would fit those roles well.
Yeah.
If you look at our Facebook page, we also have posted an invitation to all our community members to take the survey. It's still live, the U of O survey, and so it's taking about 15 minutes to complete it, but it's important because a lot of the ways that the natural hazards are prioritized, and how our community's vulnerability to those specific hazards are prioritized comes from the public input part of it. Especially where we're talking landslides and some wildfire risk for those parts of Cascade Locks that are south of the freeway versus north of the freeway, so it's.
And there were some other ones in there that were more nuanced that I felt that it would really be beneficial to get the community input on.
Yeah, more voices, the better. Janetta and I met with Val, midweek last week, leading up to the Vortex event for the Gorge Canoe Club. And really encouraged, the canoe club to work with, the CGRA on a mutually beneficial space management plan for storage and activities on the beach that would, foster, strength in both of those clubs, but also make sure that we're preserving also public access and emergency response ingress egress to the beach. So we're kind of talking about how can we manage storage and parking and road access to make sure that the beach is safe on every level.
I was going out by that event, was super impressed with CGRA the Gorge Community Club that day. I usually stop by all of those events just to make sure, like you said, that they've got parking figured out, that there's great ways to get emergency vehicles in there. And it's usually the second or third or fourth CGR event before they've got it dialed in, but Gorge Community Club right out the gate was doing a fantastic job. Parking was under control, there was room to get vehicles in and around the parking. Someone wanted access to the beach, they could get that. It also looked like a really successful and fun event, but the logistics of it, they nailed, so that was exciting.
Let's see. Hood River County Sheriff's Office will be doing a free boat inspection day. And they also currently have a fundraiser going. We have a link to it on the Port's Facebook page for a safety boat. That's the Sheriff's Office Foundation that is trying to raise $36,000 for their safety boat. And that is another project that we may invite to submit a letter of intent, or a letter of interest for the Port's grant fund. We met with Jeremiah and I met with Melanie Schmidt and Malia Myers, who are co-owners of Port Tenon Business Landmass Wines. And we are just really excited about their business. Their growth has been amazing. They received some wonderful financial support, funding support from Business Oregon last year, and they have definitely made the most of it. And they are
500 cases a year to 5,000 cases a year.
busting at the seams, and their whole business model is really exciting, and it was really great for them to spend time with us and meet with us. We received a grant agreement from ODOT for the $6 million, which you just approved. And Karen, did you attend social media trainings at SDAO social media training? And I think that's it.
That's it.
That's it, that's all. That's it.
So we can review.
That's all we do.
It's not training, you didn't mention that, but those are all.
Yeah.
So as she mentioned, Melanie and Molina Landmass Wines came by. They are busting at the seams in Flex 2. They have a storage issue right now, and we're interested in potentially renting out some space in Flex 6. the amount of space they need is very small. They also need to be able to, keep it at a particular temperature, and they have a piece of equipment that will allow that. If you toured Flex 6 before, you know, they have a washroom that's up against the, north wall. The only real access to it is across the building. I don't know that it's a great fit long-term, but it's an empty building and we have a tenant that has a problem. So, I will be bringing to you probably at the next meeting, some sort of month-to-month that allows them to utilize that space, why it's available. They've said that they understood that at a moment's notice, I could say this isn't gonna work for us anymore. Somebody wants the whole space. This is not an answer or a solution to Flex 6. This is a tenant of ours that we're really excited about that has a problem, and we have a way to be helpful, at least in the short term time. So that'll be something that comes back to you guys. It certainly isn't going to cover the payments on the building. It isn't a solution for jobs. It's literally us just reaching out to a business that needs some help that we have been helping all along the way. We're really excited about them. I think you guys all saw the email that went out where they talked about a potential winery down the road. So they have some long-term plans with the Port of Cascade Locks. And we'll see how those come together. They do not see themselves in the small business park long-term. Much of that to do with the fact that it's right next to a wastewater treatment facility. They were named one of the top 5 wines in Oregon, and that's just not what the vision is for them as they grow. So, when we do, some of our, studies out there with, the land that we have and what some of the best use cases are that we have, we'll probably have to include wineries and campgrounds and other things that we've been approached about.
Well, getting it last night, it was awful.
Yes, was it?
It's awful.
Anytime it's awful, if you guys smell it, even Rob said he smelled it, Shahala, shoot an email to Jordan. There is a solution to it. Jordan has said that if they run thank you. I always feel like it's a weird word, but it's the exact right word. If they run the digester more often, the smell goes down. It seems to be bad on Monday because I don't believe the digesters are being run over the weekend. He said that there is a cost associated with running it more often. I think it's gonna take some pushback at the city level to say, hey, it's worth the values for you guys to digest it. But I think that it's probably best coming from the citizens who are being affected by it. And not us as a landlord, because there's very little that we can do about it. I can only apply so much pressure at the courts before it starts to move into sort of a different realm. But if it comes from citizens who are being affected.
The city's not waiting for your money from us, are they? Because they should run that digester more often, or they should be waiting a little longer for that money.
I have some ideas where that money could come from.
In line with Flex 6, we continue to have conversations with Freem and seeing what that potential partnership could look like. It will come at a large cost to the port. We'll revisit it now that the budget has been passed. You guys have that $2.4 million in the development fund. There are some folks that are gonna have their eye on that. I think Rudy's gonna be one of them. So we'll look at that presentation. We've also been approached about a potential buyer for Flex 6. I don't have details on it, but I do know that they're a beverage distribution company. And I believe that they have reached out to Rudy and said, hey, if the port didn't own this building, would you be interested in being one of our tenants as well? So there's a few people that are talking about that building. They all seem to be in beverage distribution. But ownership of the building and the land underneath it is going to be part of the presentation that they make. So that is it is not a data center, and it does fall in line with the types of things that we'd like to see out there. So more to come on that. I think I've discussed a little bit, and I think we'll probably do more of this in my review, which we'll do in July, and talk a little bit how my position is going to change in the coming year, with a more focus on economic development. Obviously, Flex 6 being the largest portion of that, but also just what you guys want to do with those development funds out in the business park and elsewhere in the port. But Genevieve has picked up on this very quickly, as you would imagine, having been the interim director at the Port of Hood River. So those day-to-day operational stuff, she's picking up very quickly. I feel very confident in handing most of that over to her and taking the show on the road. Again, we're gonna have to talk about it more in my review to make sure that's in line with the position. But I think some of these bigger issues that we need to solve with what we're doing with our property, getting developers interested in what we're doing here is not things that are gonna be solved sitting at my desk. I'm gonna need to be in Portland, I'm gonna need to be in Olympia, I'm gonna need to be in Salem, I'm gonna need to be in Hood River. It's just time to take the show on the road. So, that's to come. I didn't spend a lot of time at home this weekend either. Was out at the Freem event. That was awesome. Was able to hit this Canadian County Chamber happy hour. Met a couple of different candidates over there that are running for, there's 8 different candidates running for 2 county commissioner positions. Those will actually be very important to us as we move forward with the future of the bridge. So we'll be excited to see how that race plays out. I attended city council last night, was able to, sit through that. Committee of sip, it's great. It's committee of sip and stroll, so, was able to be out in the community quite a bit, the last couple of weeks, talking about our initiatives, the direction that we're going, the things that are important to us, the things that are important to this commission, the way that you guys, view the future of this town, so, I also would like to bring up the next meeting, which is scheduled for June 4th. We have the PNWA conference, which we went ahead and registered for that. I wasn't sure that I was going to go, or if I was going to see if the commissioner wanted to go. The executive director reached out from us and asked us to sit on a panel to represent our bridge ownership. So the bi-state bridge committee from Hood River is going to be there. I believe somebody from the Astoria Bridge is going to be there. David McCurry sees it as an amazing opportunity for Parsons to be there. So he'll sit on the panel as well, but it does fall during our June 4th Tuesday meeting. I would like to see us move it to either the next week after, which is the 11th, or the 3rd, which is the Monday before it. If it doesn't, I could miss that first day of the conference and then go after the meeting. Totally fine. We don't have a problem with it. Clark's. Clark's question. Okay. In Clarkson.
My company will be there.
So in Clarkson, if.
Are you going? So you'll be up Jackson also?
No, but somebody on the team is going.
Cool. I'm gonna connect with them, so. Make sure you come in with it.
I'm
good with June 3rd.
Be doing June 3rd. And I do not, Robert, you, Rob? I don't believe we will have access to this room, so we'll get to go do it down in House 3, which is always kind of fun, I think. I don't like House 3. I don't know that Carrie Ann loves setting up the Zoom cameras there, but so we'll do it in House 3. That'll put us having your packets coming out maybe on Wednesdays instead of Thursday, like we want to get on time. So cool. Any questions, concerns? Oh, yeah, thank you. So at the last commission meeting, you guys directed me by to have Tommy put together an MOU for Canadian County Transit for waiving tolls for transit vehicles. Tommy was unable to complete that for this meeting, so I'll have it for you guys at the next meeting. Sure.
Okay, so I was brainstorming over the weekend and maybe others have ideas too. But thinking if we want to fund this, because it is a good thing and saying I want to be altruistic, but we also have to think about how we're going to approach it in the future. What if their business model doesn't work? What if some other company comes in? What if we put it in the grant fund? So we do revisit it every year to see exactly what they need instead of just saying yes to the whole picture. Because we have that in the grant fund.
Jimmy also had an interesting idea that didn't make the conversation last time. Well, we did really have the conversation, right? They presented and said that. Walk away basically just with the idea of the MOU. So there's that idea. Jimmy's also come with a really cool idea that has to do with exchanging advertising on maybe one of the sides of the buses for that. So having a Cascade Box bus that's going around Stevenson and extended across the Bridge of God says right on the side, come see beautiful Cascade Box, maybe run around, maybe ale house, maybe just support whatever it is. But maybe that there are some more creative ways to approach it besides just saying, hey, we waive this. So being that we're waiting on Tommy for the MOU, me and Jimmy can sit down and probably come back with a couple different options that we see you guys being able to do this, and that would be something to vote on, and also something to discuss versus, hey, we do it or no, we don't, which is kind of tough, so there might be some other ways. Cool. We'll have that on the next agenda as well. As long as Tom can get a CME, just so we got that option. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner comments, we'll start on this side.
All right, well, I can cross a couple of these items off my list, since you guys touched on them.
I didn't carry any today, just put flex six and item on there, get to cross it off. Well, when it disappears.
So I'm looking forward to celebrating Captain Tom, and also George and Stephen on Thursday, so that's gonna be a fun event. We also have an awards ceremony, I have to look up exactly what for, but Joanne on our board is being recognized.
Yeah, that's at
For the-
10:30 that morning.
That morning, yeah, down at Ridgeside, for, Cascade Block, Friends of Cascade Block Historical Museum Award.
The Oregon Heritage Award, she's also going to be present at Captain Tom's event, so I think we'll take the opportunity to acknowledge her there too, with what I imagine will be a very excited audience, so that's awesome, we're excited about that.
Yeah. Then another museum item, just a reminder that the pony party is scheduled for Saturday, July 6th. We hope to have like some art vendors and different things, make it a little bit bigger this year. So we'll see how that goes. And then now that we have an approved budget, I want to look at getting a kickoff date on the calendar for our Bridge Centennial Subcommittee. I need to get that 5th person in place for that subcommittee, and Brittany Burge was very interested in participating, so for having somebody from that side of the river. I did reach out to Scott, the mayor, in Stevenson to see if he could recommend somebody from, you know, the political side of the house. It would be good to have some port representation or city representation or something on the committee. But no response yet, so I will pick up the phone and try calling him tomorrow, I think. Just to get his way in on it. I don't think we have to limit it to only 5 people, and it seems like there's a lot of interest from folks to be on. To create a really big party, so, and now we have a budget, so I'm excited to get going. That's everything I have.
Goodness. I want to give some thanks to everyone that was on the budget committee, everyone here, as well as everyone, all the citizens that were part of that. It's fun to see, right, kicked out of the presidency, her say, no, this is my meeting. So that was fun. Also thanks to the speakers that were here today, McKenna and Janice. Although I was at the thing, I think most of they were. Yeah, super fun events. The very first moment I saw Jeremiah there, I said, "Are we charging for parking?" At Flex 6, because that parking lot's full. So just something to consider for future events, because that place was jammed packed with people and with cars, and they were coming and going all day long. Once they got through the 2-hour-long line for the food, ate, left, lots of potential money, not like, it wouldn't compete with the bridge, but still. Also, speaking of parking, I mentioned during the get earlier, but it would be interesting to see what kind of electric car charging ramps are out there, specifically for the parking lot. We already have conduit there. If we can get someone else to pay for 75% of it, or that to be, that could be really beneficial.
And I see we pay parking while they're charging.
Well, they would have to pay for the charge, so, yeah. And then it would be interesting also potentially at the park, down the waterfront. If they're, like, I don't drive electric cars, so I don't have it just doesn't pop whenever I see them. But if we don't have any down there, that would be a good spot, I would imagine.
I'd like to give it shorting and see what kind of revenue they generate from the one that they have down at the, it's not for free, is it, Rob? Or if it's one of the cemetery great, the car charging station, or
That's not great.
yeah.
But like vendor that does, it's probably electric by highway, it's a national network. It doesn't even show up on Tesla's charging map, so we need to update that to. Since I'm starting to see a lot of our Teslas in town.
I don't know that, but we're just seeing it more on a national scale, so that knowing that a lot of people do stuff in town. Whether they're traveling, having more of them in channel, especially if we're making a little bit of change on the side, I think it could be a noisy for us.
Yeah, good call.
I can ask Lindsay to put some
Yeah,
effort into it.
I guess it would be having her connect with one of you two, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, there's actually been some work put forth on that exact grant that she was talking about, where we paid the 75% of it. It's kind of falling around this time last year, and so it got dropped, it just did. But I think that we were well on our way to understanding that grant, and it really would be just coming up with 25% back. It's pretty easy money to get.
Yeah, I would imagine so. And those are the primary things that, so, thank you.
In follow-up to your question about the ED grants, I did send an email, I did a little bit of research, so taking your notes tonight.
Cool.
And then, big thank you to Jeremiah, Parker, and Alfonso this weekend for, taking your time on the weekend to loan out tools for, Northwest Carolines. They did over, I think, 120 hours worth of work out there this weekend. Get ready for their last West event. Everything in Easy Climate has been trimmed back, so it looks great out there. Let's see. Some recent developments, Firewise USA is kind of a wildfire risk mitigation program on a national level, and usually you can reach out to your fire chief to start an organization. Chahala HOA is about to start a Firewise community. So you might be seeing more information about that. It's also an incentive for homeowners in the area and businesses to get lower insurance if they are part of that program. So, and then also thank you to Pam for your work on the Energy Council stuff. You know, I'm really excited to see a lot more talk about green, sustainable energy usage. So, I appreciate you putting that on the map. Just some events coming up. May 26th is the free boat inspection by Hood River Sheriff Deputy Jill Carmody from 10 to 2 p.m. in the marina. Exitapa hopefully opening in June, I guess. And then Mitchell Point Tunnel might be opening up in June as well. So,
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. Yeah, nice.
and the last, thank you, Kennedy and Carrie Ann, thank you for getting the whole updates to the employee handbook. I know it's a lot back and forth, but I appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay. I also want to say thanks to Lindsay and Eric for coming out, and Janice talking to us. I'm very grateful for the natural disaster mitigation that you guys are working on. Thank you, Parker. Handbook is, yeah, it's a process, but you guys have done a lot of work. Thank you. I'm very excited about Captain Tom's celebration, and I'm glad that Joanne's gonna be incorporated as that. This past Tuesday, I'm very grateful for Brad, Jeremiah, and Genevieve coming to open house for the Skamania for the WPP, the Washington Public Ports Association, had a spring meeting conference type. So it was a lot of Washington folks, but I really appreciated you showing up. I felt supported, not just by my company, I mean, my company was there, but I'm really glad that I was with, you guys were with me, and I got to meet some of the folks that I got to meet. The meeting was over the top, had some great training in real estate. I haven't found the slides yet. I thought I downloaded a whole bunch of stuff, but the real estate wasn't. So since it was a training, we may not get it, but I'll let you guys know. I also made great, met amazing people and sat next to good people and made some connections, and they had innovation clusters keynote that was fascinating. A lot of stuff that, you just don't know what technology can do because we don't necessarily have the funds here. But thinking of Singapore and Dubai and the places that have like the crazy money and the ways to do it, their infrastructure is way above ours. It's just fascinating. Yeah, volunteered for the Vortex race on Sunday, and that was a great event. There were almost 50 people. I want to give props to Maddie's photo because she's the one that organizes the whole thing. So the parking, everything that you guys were saying, I think she was the main person who does that. And I really enjoyed working with her. So the next race is going to be June 2nd. So that's something to look forward to. Another item, I joined the Restoration Advisory Board for Bradford Island Superfund. I've only been to one meeting as a member, but it's going to be very interesting. I'll keep folks apprised as to what's going on. I think there are some areas in the Eagle Creek campground that will affect it because our trails go, you can basically get on a bicycle from here. So, as far as having signs for fishing, I did ask if there was swimming, like if that is, and they don't know. So I'm going to ask for signs to be posted about swimming to owners, those types of things that will help us. The next meeting, that is, the next meeting is June 11th. Tomorrow, I'm supposed to do a site tour of all the places. So that will be a great experience for me. Lastly, the River Energy Council will be meeting on June 6th. So in my commissioner comments, I'll bring updates to that. I also saw online that there's going to be a Festival of Nations. Have you guys seen that? I want to learn more. I'm excited about that. And that's it. Thank you all for being who you are.
Well, Festival of Nations was a big deal back in the day when we were very involved with the Warm Springs, and we had a lot of people here. It was like one of the signature events of the year. I think we did it 4 or 5 years running, and it was just a great event. Had a lot of different tribes and cultures. I mean, we had Hawaiian dancers, so a lot of different games and cultural stuff, and salmon feed. It was really fantastic. The park was really busy, a lot of music and that sort of thing. So
that was that headed by Sarah Patrick?
Pardon?
Was that brought into town?
No, actually, my wife Deborah.
Oh, okay, awesome.
Started it, and we were very involved with the Warm Springs back when, impending casino. We got to know the tribal members really well, and still are good friends with a number of them, and still stay in touch with, like Margie tucked in, several different people, but I'm drawing a mental blank at the moment. But anyway, Louis Pitt, who's the public relations person for the tribe, who's actually his sister is an artist that we work with quite a bit, Lillian. And so anyway, we still stay in touch with several of them, and have one as Facebook friends and that sort of thing. But no, it's going to be a neat event. Well, once again, thank you to all of you. You guys are amazing how you do your homework and bring out things and all your extracurricular stuff that you're doing, other meetings and that sort of thing. You kind of put me to shame. Lately, I've been crazy busy with some home projects and stuff, and I'm looking forward to seeing the end of that very soon. I say that, the WPPA little get together was fantastic. I mean, great food, great people, and I knew a lot of the people from the Washington reports from the PNWA conferences, that sort of thing. So it was neat to catch up with Rob Rich and some of the other people there. And like I said, nice visit, and all the folks from Port of Kalama, they're always traveling first class, so I don't get to sit with them on the plane. But But anyway, fantastic. I did not unfortunately make it to the Freedom event, but I did go down and have the pancake breakfast on on Saturday. And what the Gordon Canoe Club is doing is fantastic. It's neat to see how they're expanding and the plans that they have for the future. I'm looking forward to that coming in front of us. And
They're also getting involved with the Festival of Nations event as well, with some support.
yeah, that'll be great. But yeah, a lot of good things happening here. Looking forward to finalizing the strategic business plan so we can get moving. I think the direction of us looking toward the future and what Jeremiah is doing. When he proposed his changes as far as administrative changes and things here this 6 months or so ago, and I just kind of said, well, we've got one employee, it's you, and if you think it needs doing, then let's do it, and if it doesn't work out, you're an employee. But
I was
that is no, everything's going great. Really happy with all the work that the commission's doing and the staff. Thank you, everybody. And that's about all I have. If there's nothing further to come before us, then I'll adjourn the meeting.
Thanks, everybody.